Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to have Mr. Aaron Eisman here with me, founder and CEO at Eisman Digital Consulting. He's been in sports media for fifteen years plus, I think, at this point, working for former Turner Sports, Bleacher Report, NFL Network. But he's been in social media for a very long time. So I'm super excited to have Aaron. Thank you for being here and sitting down with me.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, I'm excited to talk today. I've been doing this 11 years professionally, and then even did it in my internships in college, like social media and the post MySpace, early Facebook days. So I'm used to everything social for the last 15 years. Plus, personally, AOL Instant Messenger and MySpace and all that stuff. I was very big on it a long time ago.
Yep, you've seen the true evolution of it.
Yes, exactly. Like it's really fascinating to see how platforms rise, fall, get bought out, algorithms change, I mean, things constantly happen very quickly in the social media world, and I've just been a part of it for a long time. So it's been pretty cool to see it evolve and change and grow at the same time.
I always like to start at everybody's beginning story, and just for you, what was it about sports media that got you so passionate about it and got you started on your journey?
Yeah, for me it was definitely growing up in Los Angeles. I have an older brother and my dad. The three of us were always passionate about sports. We would play it, whether it was football, basketball, baseball, golf, whatever the sport was. We'd play it, we'd read it, we'd listen to people like Vin Scully, we'd watch it on TV. Everything, I think our second religion, I guess, to my mom's dismay, would be probably sports. And that's just what we loved. We loved it. I mean, I used to go to Dodgers games, like you used to get four seats and four hot dogs and four Cokes for $44 back in the day. So we used to go to games like that all the time, seeing the Dodgers play. The Clippers, my brother's a big fan of, so we go to their games because tickets were expensive when they're winning championships. And so my love of sports started early on, and then reading about it was pivotal to me because it was like um, the ability to read the LA Times every morning. I from middle school on, I'd go down my driveway, pick up the LA Times, read the sports section before school almost every day, from middle school to end of high school before I moved to college. So I got to read those people like Jay Adonde, TJ Simers, Bill Plaschke, and numerous other great writers, and that's what I wanted to be. That was the dream and goal, like to write for the LA Times one day. Um, and although I didn't get to that point, I'm still a
Still
writer in that
something
sense, and
similar, yeah.
done some things. I've done some similar things in the writing world, so that's been cool.
I want to talk about the 4 years leading up to you getting into really doing it into your internships. How did you land that internship that kind of just kicked this all off and said, "All right, Aaron, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my career."
Yeah, I think the first internship was kind of just getting into sports, like do whatever I can. It was working for this team in San Bernardino, which is like an hour east of Los Angeles. I would commute from my parents' place to east to Los Angeles to San Bernardino like 4 or 5 times a week, back and forth. Sometimes I'd stay with my grandma in Palm Springs, even go even more east. But I would hustle and grind. I did community relations, I did social media, I did running the shop, I was a mascot handler. I mean, I did everything as a part of the minor league team. The
Yep.
real internship that kind of kicked things off of my social media love of writing career, I would say, was the American Junior Golf Association, also the AJGA. And basically, what happened was I applied to internships all over the place, and I was a big a golf fan, and someone at my university, Indiana University, put in a good word for me. Next thing you know, I got an internship I with them, and that like showed me that there's like a possibility in sports social media. And so we'd go around, we did 10 tournaments, and during the summer, paid $200 a month. I don't know, probably inflation, they're probably getting 400 a month
Yeah.
now, but getting 200 a month, we'd travel around, just do these tournaments, get everything, food, t-shirts, everything covered for us. And I got to do social media, and I got to do writing, and I got to do PR and other things. And that was just so cool for me because I would set up the tournament, do all that stuff, but that was what the initial brought me into that first internship that was like the one that got me passionate about sports social media was probably the one at AJGA, and then little things along the way took me even more to my career, different internships I had to get me there. But yeah, I'm grateful for that opportunity because it's tough to get an internship in the first place, and to get the one that like really is game changer for your career was huge for me at 20 years old.
And that's when I've talked to people in a variety of different roles in the sports industry. The internships and how you get your foot in the door is it has to be the most critical part of like that first step to get into the sports industry because it's the hardest like you just said, but there are so many different ways that you can go into it in the sense of PR, social media,
Yeah.
sales, whatever it may be, but it's the hardest part that I've heard everybody say is just getting that foot in the door initially.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was saying, I mean, a lot of people, it's like who you know gets you in the door. Like to me, what you know keeps you in the building. Like, it's like, because I think I've been a lot of places where, yes, I need somebody to vouch for me, someone to say, hey, like Johnny says to Jimmy, "Hey, like like Aaron's a great what he does. Like I'll put in a good word for him." So like that needs to happen early on, but you need to get your foot in the door somehow. So whether it's an internship, whether you're starting as a salesperson, like very like entry level, like making cold calls, whether you're doing concessions or any other part of the business that you could do, you got to get involved somehow. And I think a lot of people just think like I could just go apply for a job in sports and just get it. You're competing against thousands and thousands of people. I can go into the story later on, but I found out I was like for my first job out of college at Turner Sports, 9,000 people applied for 9 positions. I was one of 9 to get a position there. So you can imagine how much competition there is to get a job in sports these days. And so it's who you know gets into that door, and then what you know keeps you in the building and hopefully takes your career to the next level.
I saw on LinkedIn just the other day that there was this role, and I forget what it was, but it was in marketing um, for a team or for the NFL or whatever it was. But there were 7,000 applications that they got for
Yeah,
one. I'm like, that is just crazy to me. Then that
right.
somebody then has to go filter through all that and find the candidates that you do, then work through
Yeah.
the funnel to interview. Like that's just nuts to me to think about.
I like applied to a role at Amazon a long time ago, and someone needed to flag my resume so that it like shows up on the HR radar, because who
Yeah,
knows, they can get 1 to 10,000 applicants very quickly.
yeah,
And there's probably some AI tool now these days that just goes sorts through and figures out who is the best. Like even there's a like because I have a LinkedIn premium membership, you can like you can click on something, say, does my resume fit the job? So I'm
yeah.
sure on the back end, like on the job side, they're like you push this AI button that says get rid of these 9,990 people, keep the 10 to 20, and then start interviewing them.
Yeah, that
So
has like these certain qualifications or buzzwords
yeah,
or something that they probably
exactly. Well, exactly. So that's just the way it is now these days. You got to know, but that's why you got to know somebody, because
yeah.
you could have the best resume, but you can't even get an interview sometimes if you don't even have set foot that someone that can vouch for you.
Now, we were talking a little bit about it in the beginning, but just want to pick your mind and truly get into the evolution that you have seen now. I mean, we've got so many platforms today, but just what you have seen, and then is there a little prediction in terms of where we are going in the next couple of years? Where are people's interests, and where can we see kind of the sports social media world going?
I think it's constantly evolving and changing. I remember AOL Instant Messenger. I had a horrible username, Hoopstar ASE. I mean, I was in sixth or seventh grade at the time, so I thought I was going to be the next Larry Bird one day, but that didn't work out. Um, and then yeah, and then seeing like MySpace, so I was big on it for a little bit. My brother was huge on it because he loves music, and music with MySpace were like a good
Yes.
tool. And then Facebook, once it opened up, maybe in like 20, 2007, 2008, 2009, something around that time where it opened up to like non-college students. That started becoming a big thing. Like I still can get the receipts on like you 10 years ago, 12 years ago, you wrote that you were going to Chipotle or you're going to
Yes.
like basic status updates that I was doing. And so things have changed and evolved and the platforms get better and worse at times. I mean, things change and so like for example, Facebook's gone through major shifts and changes, and now it's like the audience has gone from me 10 years ago to now it's like my parents or my grandma or something like that that is on the platform. But what stayed true is them buying Instagram was one of the best decisions Mark Zuckerberg or his team has ever made because Instagram to me is still top dog of all of them. With them, YouTube and TikTok or whatever order you want to say, but like and then like I said, like platforms change. Like Twitter is now X and
Twitter,
love the what it's
Twitter
about.
to me. I've been on Twitter long enough that I keep telling everybody I'm like Twitter's still Twitter to me, and I'm gonna keep
It
calling it.
is still Twitter to me. Just like the Staples Center is the Staples Center to me, not the crypto.com arena,
Yes.
which is what it is now. So stuff like that. But like yeah, I think in the future things will change. Platforms will rise and die out just like it always does. Vine was a big deal for us in 2014, 2015. I'm part of two of the Billion Loops clubs, which is like if you get to a billion loops as an organization, you get the fancy bottle of champagne shipped to you. I did I got that twice happened to me in Turner Sports and Bleacher Report. So like that was a great platform. And that's why I see some of that Vine-ish in TikTok.
Yeah.
And who knows, like there's callings that Zuckerberg's going to try to bring back Vine or call it a different name or something. Not Zuckerberg. Elon Musk will try
Yes.
to bring back since Twitter owns it. Try to bring back Vine, especially if TikTok gets banned.
Yeah.
Then, but by the end of the year. So, um, yeah. And then the future, like I think you bring a good point. Like the future to me is one the creator economy. So creators are going to just constantly profit. It's already getting to $1 billion industry. I think that like one of those big agencies did a whole report on it, or Goldman Sachs or someone said it's like 4.5 billion this year, or it will be next year at something like that. So creator economy is a big deal. It helps you grow accounts. Like if you have 100 followers and you pay someone with 10,000 followers, that's going to help you grow. So paying influencers, content creators, that's going to be important creator economy. Live, I think it's going to be interesting where live stuff happens. You have this one's called Kick and Rumble, which I didn't even know about six
Yeah.
months ago. You've got Twitch. You've got other YouTube. Can you do live? I'm seeing people do golf tournaments live on YouTube.
Yeah.
So live is going to be a big deal. Live on TikTok, TikTok Shop,
Yeah.
Instagram Live, Facebook Live. I think live will be just consistently grow as well. And then I think um, you'll see new platforms come out of nowhere. Discord might have a thing for people in the future, might not. Twitch might be there. Um, TikTok might be gone at some point.
Uh,
So things evolve and change, and there's going to be something new that comes out next year that you didn't. I can't tell you about because I don't know what it is. So it's constantly evolving and changing, and you've got to just change with it and evolve with it because today is different than next week, than different than next month and next year. It's constantly changing and evolving. You got to be ahead of the times.
It is. It is definitely. And it's always interesting to me. I mean, you wake up every single day and there is some update or something new on every single platform. I mean, Instagram went from being such a photo first platform to then incorporating reels and video and then it went back to photos and now it's back to reels. Like it's going to change constantly all the time.
Yeah.
It is interesting to wake up every day and say, what changed today in my world and my job?
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I just see some people do well on LinkedIn just by saying this is what happened
Yeah,
this week on other platforms, basically. So it's interesting to see how these are changes and evolving things happen. I think that these organizations, they just have people inside their organizations, LinkedIn, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, TikTok. They have people inside that just says, what can we do to keep upping the ante for our platform to get more people on it? And some will succeed and with their new changes to the platform, some will fail or and some will take off. But yeah, I remember the days when Instagram was photo only, and I always thought like it was silly because you could like take a picture of a trash can with graffiti on it, um, put a filter on it, and call it hashtag urban art, and
Yep.
like someone might like that content, But now it's video first. It's vertical videos happening everywhere, so it's really exciting to see that vertical video taking off as well as one of the other trends in the future.
And those LinkedIn posts that you're talking about too, I've seen so many of them. I think I've seen five this week of just different people posting like, "Hey, here are the updates that have happened on social." I'm like, "What in the world?" I'm like, I first of all, I've seen it, but I haven't seen this quantity of people posting this type of stuff. So I'm like, okay, are we going in this direction that social media managers, this is the type of content that is getting engaged with and people wanting to see more of, or is this just part of people's content strategy in the sense of making sure people are updated and showing that they have an
Yeah.
audience? It's interesting to see.
It's going to be that kind of that balancing act of people need to stay on top of the trends and see what's coming next and how to best use the platform because as you know, the algorithm changes and so people have to change their content strategy, their plan to get best engage the audience, and that changes everything with someone on their day to day, especially a social media manager. Yeah.
I want to hop into your time at Bleacher Report, Turner Sports, and NFL Network,
Yeah.
and just in the sense of from those three different experiences over 11 years, just what are some of the big things that you took away with? What are the biggest lessons and learnings?
Yeah, I think the first off is I think people get this idea that the intern the intern does everything that and any intern or any person can do social media,
Yeah.
but it takes there's a certain science behind it. There's a certain person that it takes to be successful at this industry. I don't think everyone can do it, and I think everyone wants to do it. A lot of people want to do it, but they can't. So what I learned over time was at Turner Sports, I learned how important video was going to be for the
Mhm.
future, like highlights, um, interviews, funny moments from NBA on TNT, stuff like that. Like I learned how those are going to be important. And then ultimately, content is king. And I wrote about, like Bill Gates wrote about this 30 years ago. It still remains true to this day. And so I learned that really well, how important content was, especially at Turner Sports. Bleacher Report, I learned all kinds of facets to social media that explains why it's a science. There's branding and strategy involved. There's content creation. There's posting slash community management. There's branded content or monetization as well. And analytics. I always said if content is king, analytics are queen. So if the
Yeah.
content's doing well, the numbers should show that on the analytics should show that as the numbers should show growth and or it shows things that aren't working well and you got to be aware of it too. So I learned how uh, different parts of the business all can feed off of social media, and social media can help all parts of a business when I was at Bleacher Report. And then finally at the NFL Network, it was highlighting the personalities. It was personality driven content, I would say, was a big deal for us in 2018, 2019 there. What I mean by that is like when there's people on air, Kay Adams, Rich Eisen, Deion Sanders, like we had a lot of like great talent, Kurt Warner, there's a lot of great talent at NFL Network, and it was showcasing the personalities as much as possible to be successful with it. Um, you know, you need to understand like a social media person needs to be aware like this is gonna work this video, this is not gonna work. We gotta try this one out. Maybe it flops, but we gotta try it out because from my expertise, this we know this is gonna work well. This has worked well for us in the past, this content bucket. So you got to be aware of those like things as well. So yeah, I mean, going back to my first point, not everyone can do it. Not everyone, especially in sports, it's like a hardcore job where you can get heckle that, troll that, screenshot it at, whatever it is. And you just got to be thick skin and be tough about it sometimes. And then, yeah, I mean, being creative, not everyone can be creative. Not everyone can be that. Not everyone can have left brain, right brain, which I think you need to have both in social media. You need to be like that person that can come up with a creative idea and then person that can be analytical and say that did that creative idea work or not work and can go through the numbers. So I don't think everyone can do it. And I don't think I think you could try to do it, and some people just can't do it, and maybe they're better suited to do something else. But um, it takes a certain type of person to be successful at it, and not just be doing the day-to-day motions of it. So that's where I've tried to learn how to grow myself in my career, was how to get better at this and to teach others about this and to grow myself personally and professionally by learning from the people around me, and at these places that I got to be fortunate enough to work at. So it's really been beneficial in my career to be at these places and to learn from a lot of great people along the way.
I constantly say in my full-time job, I'm like, I get asked all the time, like, why are we doing all these new things? I'm like, well, we have to go test. I'm like, social media is doing a shit ton of testing to see
Yeah.
if it's gonna work. If it does, great, we can go and continue this and
Mhm.
see what other, like you said, personalities or whoever else we can talk to. But if it doesn't, great, we learned a lesson. Maybe it's the platform that it just doesn't work on. Maybe it's the overall content, but you constantly in social media have to test every single day to say,
Yeah.
yes, this is working, this is not, what's not working, what is, so you can make improvements and continue to chug along on for the rest of your day. But it's constantly doing testing.
Right, because I think the audience changes, the algorithms change, the platform, the platforms themselves change. Like there's new features constantly popping up on these ones. So as a social media manager, you got to be changed with it, and you got to develop your skills to understand, like, um, you know, you've got to be on top of those platform changes and the algorithm changes and the consumption habits of the audience changes, because all of that is going to make your job more successful long term, because you're aware of what's going on, and that awareness is going to get you further on, because there might be five other people with the same job you have, or 5,000 people applying for that one social media job. But like, what's going to make you successful is showing that the numbers, that you've gotten good numbers in the past, and that supports your resume, as well. So yeah, I mean, not everyone can do it, but you got to roll with it, and you got to test things out and see what works, and learn from those testings, and hopefully get better over time as a social media manager.
Now, you said when you got to Turner Sports, like there was a lot, it was video heavy. Has there been something along the way that you've said, okay, I have to go teach myself this. I have to go learn this particular thing because maybe it wasn't in your skill set when you first walked into one of these roles.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I think for me it was, um, I was a writer, and like I taught my story. Like I wanted to be a writer, a sports writer. I read these sports books from John Feinstein. I'd read the Los Angeles Times. I'd read ESPN the magazine, Sports Illustrated for kids, Sports Illustrated growing up. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a writer, and so when I got to Turner Sports, I got the job because I was a good writer, and I wrote 400 articles in college, and I like know how to write with voice and captions and this and that. But I really didn't have any social media, you know, experience out of college until I landed that Turner Sports job. And so, um, yeah, like that's what helped me, is like being a good writer, because like it's crucial to my success. But then what I learned as well was, you got to learn other skill sets, other tools. Like I never used Adobe Photoshop in my shop in my life before, until I got to Turner Sports, and then they threw me into a graphic. I didn't know Adobe Premiere Pro. I didn't know how to use these tools like Snappy TV, which is owned by Turner,
Yeah.
Twitter, um, Gravio. There's like other tools that I used. There's one I used to love, called CrowdTangle. There's like an analytics tool that was like really
Okay.
cool to use. That would be show it's overperforming, underperforming with your posts and all this
Yeah.
and that. But ultimately, yeah, it's like learning these tools, because they're only going to make you better. I mean, there's so many of these content counter tools that do analytics: Hootsuite, Sprout Social,
Yeah.
Heorica, Agora Pulse, Buffer, Loomly, whatever it is. You use, like, organizations will use those types of tools, but the creative tools are going to make you better, because if you're a good writer, that helps you as with caption ability, but to be a good creative as well, using some of these tools, now it's like InShot or CapCut or Canva or whatever it is. Learning how to use these tools properly and effectively is only going to make you better, and that's what's made me better, is to pick up tools consistently over time, learn them inside and out, and then best use case them for my jobs or wherever I'm at.
I am on the flip side where I always had a camera in my hand. I picked up video editing, but the writing part for me, I have to sit down and really, when we're talking about writing in a business's brand tone and voice or whatever
Mhm.
it may be, that's the part where I've had to put a lot of energy forward.
Yeah.
Uh, because I wasn't a writer. I wasn't, that's not where I came from. I was the creative side of things. And so
Yeah.
I've been spending a lot of time sitting there and practicing and having to really put forth like how are you speaking to people instead of with people or whatever it may
I like
be,
that.
those different classifications. It's been a learning curve for me, especially as I've in my years of social media.
No, you're right. I think the talking to versus with the people, that I think that's important, crucial distinction. But yeah, it's I think you constantly learn if you can. But I always said people I came to this recently, like a year or 2 years ago. But if you can like ICE, which is like to me, ideate, create, and execute, can you
Yeah.
do those three things successfully? You come up with the idea,
Yep.
be creative and innovative, come up with the idea. Can you create the idea using one of these tools that we just mentioned? And can
Yep.
you execute and post the idea with good caption on the right platforms, all that stuff? You can be successful in social media, but not everyone knows how to do all three phases at
Yep.
a high level.
It's difficult. I always take it back to when I was growing up and you're trying to figure out a caption for Instagram that's best thinking about it. And especially what you're talking about with the example of like the graffiti on a trash can. Like you're sitting there trying to think of the coolest caption to write that's really going to grab people's attention.
Yeah,
But it's so funny now that sometimes it's easier for me to write a caption for work than it is for me
yeah,
to do something for my personal channels. I'm like, got
right.
nothing. I've got nothing.
Yeah, yeah, your brain gets so formed into coming up
Yeah.
with that brand, forgetting about your own personal brand.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that happens a lot to people.
I want to get into Eisman Digital Consulting and just want to start
Yeah,
with first off the transition from you working with these big networks and what it has been like for the past 4 years and what that transition was to creating your own agency.
yeah. The why part was interesting because like it's coming off of ending a contract with the NFL. Was thinking about what to do next. My uncle, who's entrepreneur, two grandfathers who's entrepreneurs who never met, but they passed away before I was born. But they were all entrepreneurs, and my uncle said like, why don't you be a consultant and see what happens in July 2019? And so that's what I did. I consulted, went to this conference called hashtag Sports in New York City, got a few clients from there, and then decided to go like just hustle and like message people and reach out to people all kinds of ways. Got a few clients that way, and then the pandemic hits in January 2020, or like yeah, around that time, January, February. And then that was really crazy because it was like I just my business kind of went south pretty quickly, and it was like I went from five, six clients to like one or two,
Yeah.
because people didn't know what how long the pandemic was going to last. Should they spend money, take back money, all that stuff. So my consulting business was slow, and I was doing Grubhub driving or DoorDash driving to make ends meet and to pay the bills at the time because I didn't I could have gone back to full time, but not a lot of people were hiring either.
Yeah.
So it was tough that time. Things started changing and picking up around end of 2021, early 2022, I would say, for my business, where we kind of transitioned from consulting, me, myself, and I, to more of a social media agency model. And so since then, we've worked with probably 35 to 40 clients since 2022 or end of 2021. It's gone from me, myself, and I to now we have a team of five, six part-time contractors that work under me that do all kinds of work. They manage accounts for me. They do graphic design, video editing. They do analytics. They can do business operations to help my business grow. So it's really, I think that's what's evolved. And we're about to hit 5 years, the 5 year mark next month. But what I learned is that you've got to have a good team around you to help you grow because you can do so much. As a social media person, you can have your hands in 10 different clients.
Yeah.
You can have no life and make good money at it, or you can have maybe a little bit less money, but like feel like you have more free time to do things and have people helping you grow your business, and then that can lead you to the goals that you want to have. So ultimately, like it's been cool to have my own agency. I really enjoy like the ability to like have my own schedule, work with the hours I want to work, be working with the clients I want to work with. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But it's good. It's all good learning experiences overall. And yeah, we just grown it to we've worked with 80% sports and 20% non-sports, but I've had some cool clients over the years. I've had startups. I've had a former dog trainer TV star. Um I've had athletes and sports agencies. I've had sports gambling startups and tech companies. So we've run the gamut of finding these clients wherever they may be and getting them as clients of ours. And then yeah, just growing our business that way through the power of the right client to work with and just keep the door coming through with new clients as well. So I've enjoyed what I've been able to build, and I'm glad we're about to hit 5 years, and it's exciting to see what happens for the next 5 years or whatever else is in the future for our business.
Now, with that 80-20 split and working with a variety of different, sports companies and sports startups and all these different startups, was there a learning curve in terms of like, okay, this isn't specifically NFL. How do we have to teach ourselves and kind of learn what this client is looking for? Like, what has been the process for you and the team when you do get a client in that intake?
Yeah, I think for us it's understand there's always the foundation first off. The foundation is I call it the 6 pillars of social media success. And how that goes is branding is one. So if they don't have like a style guide or a brand guidelines, whatever it is, we can help build that for them with one of our designers. If the strategy is not there, a platform specific strategy, we build that out for them as well. The content has to be there too. So it's like content is king, like I talked about. Is it a video? Is it a graphic? Is it a animation, motion effects, photography? What is the actual piece of content? What are our content buckets? Um, then it's posting slash community management, which I think is how many times you're posting, what platforms are you posting, all that stuff. Community management is I'm replying to DMs, comments, all that stuff. Finally, the last two are monetization, which is your influencer, paid social, branded content bucket. And last analytics. So I've said content is king, analytics are queen. So the analytics will tell the stories of whether your content is performing or not, and whether the strategy needs to be changed. So those are kind of what we bring to the table. It's always those six. Someone's coming to us for one of those 6 issues, if not more than 6 issues,
Yeah.
to their social media problems, and that's why they come to us and they say, "Well, you guys have a cost-effective retainer. You guys can build a team around us instead of having somebody like an intern or a coordinator 2 years out of college. You come to us, and I bring over 11 years of experience. I have people on my team that are I've worked for over 3 or 4 years in social media, so." We're really knowledgeable in what we do and we're really effective and we have a lot of success. But yeah, ultimately, like we just got to set the foundation day one with any of these new clients.
And I want to get into when it comes to helping clients now these days, I mean, we've been talking about there's so many different platforms, there's so many different people that are on there. When you are trying to get your name out there, what is your approach to cutting through the clutter or stopping the
Mhm.
scroll, however you want to classify?
Yeah.
What is your strategy in terms of helping people do these things in the massive social world we have today?
Yeah, I love that you said stop the scroll because that's the quote someone used in my book that I wrote on sports social media a couple of years ago is how to stop the scroll. And I think what I've learned is that you've got to understand the platforms at a high level. You got to understand that what might work on TikTok might not work on Instagram, or what might work on YouTube might not work on any of these platforms. Might work on LinkedIn is a whole special voice and cadence and type of posting structure you need to have. So a social media manager needs to be on top of all that's happening on all these different platforms, and you need to understand that like to be successful at it, like you need to be aware of like what are the platforms, what do they do, what value do they provide to your organization, and all that stuff. So I think it's important to know the platform specifically first and understand the organization's brand voice and all that stuff. But to grow, it's to stop the scroll, it's tough. Vertical video is going to work well these days, but it's actually what is the vertical video consist of? Is it I know there's a lot of creators that give you the splashy thing to stop your scroll for the first 5 seconds, and they hope they keep you on for the next 20 seconds. Or else you scroll to the next one and the next one. So there's certain like methods or certain ways you can like get someone's attention very quickly. Um, and and then there's certain things you can do trending wise using the right hashtags on TikTok, not on other platforms. The right songs, little growth hacks you can do along the way. But like ultimately, yeah, it's going to be in your best interest to understand the platform itself and how to best utilize those platforms to be successful. Because not everyone understands the changes and the things that are happening. You got to change, you got to like roll with the punches and change with it as these platforms change. So it takes a lot of like evolving as a client or evolving as a brand or evolving as whoever to be uh, most successful for the future of your company.
It's a lot of little things too, and I think you were talking about like the right music, the right hashtags, and it's funny
Yeah,
because that's the question I get asked the most about is hashtags, and are
yeah,
people still using them? Are they still a thing?
yeah,
I'm like, well, it depends on where we're talking about.
yeah,
But it is funny that those particular things you make the whole picture in terms of when we're posting a single piece of content. It's what makes
yeah, exactly. You're right. So I mean, it's like, you know, hashtags are great on TikTok, but someone said to me, don't use them on Instagram.
yeah.
Maybe use one or two on Twitter, like, and then maybe use one or two or three on LinkedIn. Like, but you know, it's like it's hashtags are dying out. So like you got to change with that. Like that was a big thing for a while. I mean, I used to do a post for some people that you do the copy and the caption, and then you comment on the post on Instagram with like 30 hashtags, just so
Yes.
you can see by more people. Or you do nowadays, like you hashtag disguise a post or whatever it is. Like you put your Instagram feed post into a story and you put a bunch of hashtags behind it that no one's seeing, but then it gets more eyeballs on your story that way. But like yeah, I mean, hashtags are not helping as much anymore on certain platforms. And so you got to just understand what does help. And that's great content will always help an organization. The great content will build brand awareness and brand loyalty, and hopefully have people talking to their friends about, I love this page or that page because they enjoy their content at the end of the day.
One I've noticed as well too is a lot of people when you're going and doing a LinkedIn post, they'll keep the copy, straight copy up top, but then in the comments they'll be like, "Oh, by the way, here's the link to the podcast episode or here's
Yeah.
the link to whatever the website or whatever it may be." So I've seen a lot of that happening now,
Yeah.
and it's interesting as to like I've seen it with a lot of podcast hosts, but like other forms that people are doing it in as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, that's happening a lot. I do a newsletter and um, I might not put the link into the actual post, but I put it into the comment. And sometimes that performs better. Like I get more likes off of the comment than I do off the actual post because people are like, okay, I want to read this. And then they click onto it, read my newsletter, and then they like or comment on my comment. So yeah, you never know. Honestly, yeah, people are doing different things in different ways, and you just gotta be aware of like how people utilize the platform. It's one thing to say we use it this way, but it's another thing to say I've done my research and I understand how other people are using these platforms. And you know, what's going to make me most successful is understanding how my audience, you're posting to the audience, not posting for yourself or your brand. You want to engage the audience, you got to know what the audience likes, dislikes, who they're posting to, all that stuff to make them stop the scroll. Because you know, it's one thing that's to help you tell your bosses you're doing what they say, but it's another thing to say we're not getting the numbers, so we need to change strategy and figure out how to engage the audience at a higher level.
I do want to hop into the evolution of sports social media, which is the book that you wrote and released in 2021. First off, just in the midst of all of this stuff that you've been doing for the last 11 years, why go write this book and specifically focus on sports social media?
Yeah, two reasons. One, sports social media has been my topic, like I said, for the last 11 years. Two, there's three reasons. Two, you know, I didn't see like a good book out there about sports social media. I saw there was like a textbook by one of my professors at Indiana University, and it was very like huge textbook. This is what this is what that is, Twitter versus this. There was a lot of breakdowns on stuff. There wasn't a book done about the stories of people through social media over the years and how it's changed and evolved. And so, and the third reason is, yeah, my mom gave me a kick in the butt and said, you know, Aaron, you're a great writer. You love writing. No one's doing this book. Why don't you do it? And so she was right. So I did it. I interviewed over 100 people. It's like almost like giving a birth to a baby. Like it's, you know, just in sense of it took me 9 months from start to publish, starting the book to publishing the book. I did a writing course through Georgetown University that really helped me understand what I needed to be doing at a high level to be a good writer, a book writer, which is totally different than like a meme writer. So like that it needed to do work. And then, yeah, I mean, I wrote some of my stories in there. I wrote stories of other people, what they think about social media. There's stuff about my days at Bleacher Report and I did a little work for House Highlights. I did a work for Turner Sports, other places. Um, like how things have evolved at ESPN over the years. Stuff at House of Highlights, Omar Raj's story, who created the account, athlete social media, monetization, all that stuff is all in the book. And it's what's great is it's gotten me opportunities. We've sold nearly 600 copies in 3 years.
Okay.
Um, and now I'm going to be teaching at a university called Cal Lutheran University in the fall. And because of my book, the dean read my book, and now I'm going to be teaching the course on it. So it's cool to like have this ability to where my book has gotten me places, gotten me clients, it's gotten me new opportunities to speak to, you know, podcasts,
Yeah.
courses, athletic departments, whatever it is. But um, yeah, I think I really appreciate like that ability that I did the book, I wrote it, and it was exciting to do it. And they just notched off my belt is like write a book before I hit 30, and I was able to do that. So it was on the bucket list, the vision board. So I'm glad I got to be able to do that.
Very cool, very cool. Well, it's cool that the dean had read it too, and you're getting to go teach that class and share your wisdom and everything that you've learned from your time to other people who are coming up too. Because I think that is so underrated, and there's not enough of that happening because it's definitely a college class that you'd be like, yes, this is what I exactly want to be going and taking, because these are the steps that I want to be going and doing later in my career.
Yeah, because I think I don't mean to be picky on like educational field, but like a lot of it is, you know, unless you're an adjunct professor, a lot of it is I need my PhD or my double master's to go teach somewhere, to be a professor, to be even called a professor. Someone said to me, you need a PhD or a couple master's degrees, whatever. So like for me, like I haven't taught a class. I haven't been in a college course in 11 years. So like I think it's cool to be able to do it myself, but like yeah, I think it's like to be biased in a way, like I think you need the years of experience that I have to like get to ready to teach a course like this. You can't just be the person that's reading articles all the time, writing a thesis about this and hasn't worked in this like I have. So yeah, I'm biased about it, but I think you need that work experience to teach a course properly to the students that want to work in the field anyways.
I was incredibly lucky. We were talking about beforehand. I went to NC State, and our whole model is think and do. And so I was incredibly lucky that my junior and senior year of college, I all my 300 and 400 level classes, I literally got to go and work with businesses. So when I walked out of college, I had 2 years of experience beforehand, but I got to see firsthand working with businesses, creating a marketing plan, working in social media. And I was like, those are the type of classes that properly get you prepped and
Yeah.
ready to go. And you look back in high school where you're like, God, I wish they would have taught me how to balance a checkbook or do these things that you kind of just the small things need to learn, instead of these big concepts. But went to college and they taught you these smaller things and you got to put it into practice. So I completely agree with you because it's those things that matter a ton when you're going out into the real world, what everybody calls it, and saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is your job. This is the things you need to be doing."
those internships that I talked about earlier is what helped get me to where I am today with Turner Sports. And then it got Turner Sports, someone put in a good word for me at Bleacher Report, and then someone at Bleacher Report put in a good word for me at the NFL. And I still get clients because I was good to people and I worked my butt off to get clients that way now currently. So it's yeah, it's all things work out in
Yeah.
different ways. But yeah, it's like I'm glad that I was able to
Yeah.
do what I've done over the years and like be successful at it and teach others now how to do it as well. Is going to be cool as a professor.
My last question for you, Aaron, is just what continues to drive your passion for sports and social media after all these years being in this world?
I think first I have a love of sports. Sports has been a part of my life since I was 6 or 7 years old in some fashion, whether watching it, playing it, reading about it, doing whatever I could. It's always been a part of me. A lot of people that are failed athletes go into the sports industry because they just want to be a part of it still. And I've always wanted to be part of it anyways. And so that was what it was. And then social media, I've realized like it's a great career path for certain people. Like I said, not everyone can do it, but like it's a great career path because like it allows me to be creative, it allows me to be analytical, it allows me to be strategic, it allows me to think about brand building and like how to develop people, how to develop a brand at a baseline or rebrand somebody. So it allows me to do a lot of different things that I love to do anyways, and it allows me to have my hands in a lot of different pots and like figure out like what I love to do. And I've built up this career and I love to do what I do because I get to work with a lot of cool people. I get to do a lot of great things. I get to go to a lot of great events, and it's just helped me realize that I went down the right path. I could have went this way and been a
Yeah.
boring sports writer and made it to the LA Times one day, and it would have been great. Or I could have gone this way and was what the right decision ended up being is going to a place like Turner Sports, moving to Atlanta and not having anyone there, not knowing anyone in Atlanta, but taking the job and then going from different places around the country to end up where I am today with my own agency and my own book that's doing well. So it's cool to have all that success and be where I'm at today. And who knows? We'll see where the future lies. And but I'm excited that it's all worked out for a reason, and it's all taken me where I am today, and I'm proud of the career I've had and I will have in the future.
It's fantastic. It's kept you on your toes. That's what I always tell everybody. I'm like, go into social media if you're ready to stay on your toes and be ready to pivot.
Yeah,
I just can't thank you enough for taking the time and talking with me today and sharing your story and your experience.
yeah, of course. Happy to do so. Danielle, thanks for the time, and I always love sharing my stories, and hopefully your listeners get something from some of the nuggets I was able to give out today.
Yes, absolutely. And you guys, I will have all of Aaron's socials linked down below. You guys can go check out his book, Eisman Digital Consulting, all of it. But just Aaron, thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for the time.
Yeah. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.